Hey everyone, Derpy here, back with another Battle Pirates video, and this is my Praetorian Fleet Spotlight. So I'm going to go through and show you my build, and just so that you can see what I'm going to be using in the targets as we see them or in the current state of the game. I'm going to go over the 4 regular ships, then the flagship, and finally give some special advice, so make sure you stay watching for the entire video. Going over to my 4 backline ships, they're all built the same exact way, and I'm going, except for one that's not quite finished, I'm going to go into the shipyard menu to show you what I'm actually doing here so you can see it a little bit more detailed. First of all, I have 5 pylon rockets. These rockets came with the ship, came with the hull. That should be pretty standard. I am only using 5 and 3 countermeasures because I want to have heavy armor on my actual ships. Now, there could be some argument made for trying and focusing on damage and having less defense, less survival, but I'm going to try and focus on survival and have enough defense for my fleet because I find that's what works best for me. You'll see here as far as weapons, like I said, 5 pylon rockets. I have 2 Gale 4s. These are especially important in the level 133 targets or anything that has heavy explosive damage because you need the Gale defense systems, especially if you're not going to upgrade your ships to U3. I also have 1 Missile Defense System 3, although if you want to, you could easily change this to a Sprint, and that would also allow you to counter rockets as well as missiles. Your rate is still going to be perfectly fine, so you can either go Missile Defense System 3 or Sprint, depending on if you want to focus on countering rockets or countering missiles. I have decided to go for Missile Defense System 3 on this specific ship. That's weapons that's pretty standard. As you'll see here, if I try to replace one of these weapons with a pylon rocket, I'm not going to be able to because it's going to go overweight, so that's not going to work. It goes overweight by a couple thousand tons, which means you would need to take one of the armors and knock it down a little bit. So I do have to go for 3 countermeasures if I want to have a full armor setup. As far as my armor setup goes, I've split 50-50 ZX1 and ZM1 armors. My survival, as I'll show you here, is roughly identical with a little bit higher penetrative survival because of my sync drives that I have on here. There is no explosive sync drive, so that's not really an option, but we can start talking about specials too. The engine is pretty standard. Penetrative sync drive or speed system 6, both of them will work completely fine. I do have the limited explosive battery 1. If you don't have this, you can always use the garrison battery because that will do almost the same thing, just not quite as good because it is not limited. I do have siege targeting 4. This should be standard because we are seeing a lot of buildings in targets, so the plus 165% building damage is important. If you wanted to, you could reduce this to 3 or 2 if you wanted to save weight, but I think it's really important to keep this on here. My countermeasure system is the Gale defense system, and that improves a lot of rocket stats as well as countermeasure stats. It's pretty important to use here, and you'll notice that anti-mortar reload buffs Gales, anti-missile reload buffs Missile Defense System 3, and countermeasure reload will buff sprints if you use sprints instead of Missile Defense System 3. I also do have Warhead Reloader on here that's really good at boosting rocket damage and rocket reload. Then for my last special, I was using several different things in this slot. I tried Combustion System 2, but refitted to Explosive System 4 to try and focus my firing and have a lower spread so I could kill individual targets more quickly. And then I refitted that again to Cluster Warheads 3 to have increase my reload to the best I possibly can. Now, the thing is about reload is that there is a minimum reload you can actually get. Every weapon needs to have 0.2 seconds between every salvo, every shot of every salvo that fires. So you can't get reload maximized or minimized down to 0. It will take a set time to shoot. Although I did believe without this on here, it wasn't quite fast enough. So you do need to have, I do think that this is an important special. Although if you're not using this, you can easily go Explosive System 4. That would be my second best recommendation. Then my armor, I already mentioned 3 of each. If you don't have this, you could use no armor, which is what I was going on my ships for quite a while. Doing the 131s, I used no armor. Or if you wanted to, there is that new armor in the Forsaken mission, which I'm not necessarily a fan of, but it is a non-limited armor and will save you the Folded Ferrite F1, F2, XM armors. You could use that instead. That's not going to give nearly as high survival, but it is an option if you want to redeem an armor for one price, one time, instead of having to redeem limited armor, because you can see I have spent 3 times 15 million for 6 times 15 million, 6 times 25 million actually for this ship, this one individual ship, and I have 5 ships in the fleet. If I just bought that one non-limited armor, then I would have only spent 70 million instead of millions of points for every single armor plate. So this is my regular backline Praetorian. I do have 4 of these. I'm going to talk about upgrades after I talk about my flagship, which I'm going to be doing now. You'll see here my flagship is built as a tank. I have 6 sprints loaded out on here and 1 gale. I have absolutely 0 missile defense system 3 on here. You do not want to mix missiles or anti-missile varieties. You do not want to mix sprint and missile defense system 3 on one ship. It complicates things and more things are firing. It's a little bit complicated. But it's fine to have 1 gale system 4, and I have 1 rocket just in case I want to auto things. I would like to auto my FM if it's possible. The armor configuration is the same, but the special configuration is way different. I have penetrative sync drive on here as an engine. That's pretty standard. High velocity rounds and explosive system are on there for projectile speed primarily, because that's really important for using countermeasures, especially against targets that we're seeing in today's game. Then I also have Gale defense system to increase my explosive penetrating survival and also buff my anti-missiles, anti-mortars, and rockets. Then I also have subaquatic propellant on here, which increases projectile speed and also boosts countermeasure reload by 50%, and that will affect the sprints because their weapon damage type is countermeasure. Then as far as my last special on here, I have Guidance Scrambler 3. This is to increase evade on the flagship. Other people have tried and used Hyper 30 because while that does add a little bit less evade, actually quite a lot less evade, it does boost combat speed a little bit, which has absolutely 0 effect because I don't have it on all 5 ships, and I have the sync drive, meaning they'll match speed. This does also have a splash damage reduction, which might be helpful, but all the tests I have seen so far are completely inconclusive. Agility System 4 is the exact same as Guidance Scrambler 3, except Guidance Scrambler 3 is researchable as opposed to limited. Now, it does add some stun resistance, but that's not helpful in these targets because they don't stun you at all. I did switch off my explosive battery. I don't have explosive battery on here. You could put that on instead if you wanted to, but I believe that evade is important, especially if you're driving with your flagship out in front a little bit, because you want missiles to target that and have a 50% chance of missing. You'll see my evade bonus is actually 66%, which means that's good, and 2/3 of the missiles that come at me will actually miss, because I built this as a tank, both to shoot down everything that comes at me and also to take damage. Now let's talk about upgrades. So I am intending to upgrade my fleet, and I do have it up at U2. I have 3 ships at U2 and 1 at U1. I will be doing the TLC and hopefully getting out a video of that today or tomorrow. It's a little bit late, but it's better late than never. Upgrades are good. They're optional, but they are good and will help. You'll see here the main positive upgrade is that it helps with a supplemental countermeasure system, which is essentially another Gale added on to your fleet. This is going to be helpful, especially in the level 133 target. As far as the level 133 target, you don't have to hit it. You can hit the 129s instead. I don't know which one I'm going to do, but my fleet does currently work on 129s. I will be releasing videos of this fleet in 129, 133, 137. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if this video did help you, you can go ahead and leave a like, and that lets me know that it is helpful. But if you have any questions on anything, you can comment down below in the YouTube, Kixeye, or Facebook section, and I will make sure to get back to you, especially if you tag me, and especially if it is on YouTube. As far as crews to use, I obviously like Steelheads because I used it, as well as Molotov Maidens or Hellfire Heathens. Those are all good crews to use. Even Sea Serpent is pretty good, and those are all 1-star crews. You should be able to roll them really easily. I don't spend a lot of time rolling for crews, and I do have this. I should mention that if you are trying to upgrade ships, you want to make sure you're using all 5 ships against targets for best results. If you do have 1 upgrading and you're using 4, you're not going to have quite as good results. I will also mention that this fleet does perform better, mainly against splash damage, if you drive with 1 ship out in front, and I do have videos of that up on my channel, and I will be releasing more. So like I said, if the video helped you, make sure to leave a like. You can share this video to your alliance, and you can subscribe so you get more Battle Pirates videos. But as always, this is Derpy, signing out, helping you be a better pirate.